try and keep my time limits here, so we'll put you back on time. It is really a privilege and an honor to be here, Jennifer, and I really appreciate being asked to do this because, you know, I didn't know what to expect or anything like that, and I just kind of, we were chatting on the phone, and I just decided to let go and figure out what happens, and I feel like I've been in church right now. I feel inspired, so I want to scream amen a couple of times. Just being here. That's right. That's right. Well, I am, like I said, really excited to be here today, and I was asked to talk a little bit about mental health, but more about self-care, so we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But you know, when I saw your flyer and you were talking about the unstoppable you, I thought, oh my God, women are powerful. Are we not powerful? Yes. And women in and of themselves make a huge, huge difference in the lives that they touch, whether it's their children, their friends, or people just in general. And you get a group of women together like this is unstoppable power. And that is just amazing to me. And so, as I was thinking about this, I thought, you know, what is your journey? Think about your journey. And I reflect back to a time, somebody told me this, is when you think of your life, start at the end. I'm going to encourage you to do something. You know, I haven't done this yet. I've known this for about 15 years, and I haven't done this, but I think that when I go home today, I will do it. You start at the end, write your obituary. What is your journey? Where do you want to go? What legacy do you want to leave behind? You know, and I was reminded today as I came over, you know, I get busy and I get caught up, and I'm going to talk a little bit about stress in a minute. And what do I want to leave at the end? What I really want to leave, and what I love my obituary to say is, Britt was somebody who cared about people and was there for them in the time of need. But as I was taking the ferry across, and as I was driving in my car, I was working on a little craft project that I was trying to get done, and I was putting little numbers on stars, and this was really important to me. Not really. And I got a text message from one of the gals at work, and she says, are you available? Can you talk? And she says, my father's not doing well. And so I was like, oh, I got to stop my craft project. That was my first thing, and I thought, oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. So I called her, and it reminded me when I was coming across today, what is most important? What is most important is not cutting out stupid little stars and putting little numbers on them. What's most important is what's left at the end. Because I said to somebody a couple months ago, I do not want on my tombstone to be written, I was a very good responder of emails. That is not what I want to do. I am good at responding to emails. I provide that. But what is your journey in life? And I think this will help when we talk about it, what your journey in life is. Where do you want to end up? What is the most important thing to you? Because it's all those little things that stress out our day that really sometimes just don't even matter. And when I think about the journey, you know, and you think about you can reroute, sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes we have barriers in our lives that we get stuck in front of. We don't know how to get over, around, past, blow up. What do we do with these barriers? And these barriers actually create a tremendous amount of stress for us, don't they? Because it's hard. It's really hard to figure that whole thing out. Now, let me just say, stress is inevitable in our lives. Like you were talking about before, you know, the things that happen in our lives happen, and we have to figure out how we navigate through that. Sometimes we have to navigate through that. We can figure some things out. Sometimes we can't. And let me just put in a plug. When we can't, because sometimes, you know, the boulder looks a lot bigger to us than it does to somebody else. And there's no way that we can figure out how to get past that boulder or barrier. We need to reach out for help. Doesn't matter who. It could be a friend, a family member. It could be a pastor. It could be a mental health counselor. It doesn't matter. You know, one of the things is, as unstoppable women, we have to realize that there are times that we say, help me. Does that make us weak? Absolutely not. What makes us weak is when we sit and stew and let that barrier just stand in front of us and we can't get past it, or we decide to turn around and go back. That's not where we are. So first and foremost, let me just say, you are not weak, you are strong. When you raise your hand and need help, and you know what? That's what people are for. I think about a time in my own life that was really, really hard, where everything seemed impossible. And if I did not have friends in my life and people who I could have reached out to, I would have never made it through. Would have made it through, and it would have been harder, but never made it through the way that I did. And making it through in the process is one of the most important things. We all get through somehow, some way. We manage. But how do we navigate? What do we leave behind? What example do we set for people? That makes a difference in the world. And so one of the things I want to talk to you a little bit about is helping you navigate through these hard times, or any time, I should say. We need self-care. People familiar with self-care? How many people in here are good about self-care? Yeah, I didn't think that. What I'm thinking. Self-care is, when I think about self-care, I think about it as it's a time to stop for a moment and reevaluate. It's a time to refocus, rethink your energy. And self-care, for a lot of us, we think, oh, it's not really that important. I only do it when I'm stressed. It's, selfish on my part to take that kind of time. I will tell you, self-care is vital for your survival, no matter what, on this. And so when I think about self-care, I actually put it in 3 different categories. One is, and I called it self-care repair. This is the one that we are probably the most familiar with. This is when you've been taking care of an elderly parent for a very long period of time. You need a break. You've been up with a sick child, and you ask somebody to take the child. You've been working 3 weeks nonstop to get a project done, and you just need to kind of step back and relax for a little bit. These are the things where we actually give ourselves permission for self-care. It's like, I have earned this, that kind of thing. Now, people are still not comfortable, and it's not easy for them to do self-care. But in this time, when you have stressed yourself out to that limit, you need to stop, or somebody needs to tap you on the shoulders and say, I need to stop. And I think that that's good, because I think stress actually can be positive or negative. There are things that are stressful in our lives that are really hard. The gal who called me, her dad's dying, right? That's hard stress. That's tough. But there are positive things that are stressful in our lives too, which is new house, right? Woo, moving, it's awesome. But there's a lot of work that's involved into that. New baby, that's wonderful. New job, those kinds of things. That stress still takes a toll on your life. And what I love is, all of that stress, we can do something with that. So when I think of long-term stress, where you're doing something under that kind of a pressure and you need a break, I call that stress care repair. Second one, and I think this one is one of the more important ones, I call it stress care. Self-care maintenance. Now this is one that I bet most people are not very good with. I struggle with this on a regular basis. What do you do for yourself every day? Every day to take care of yourself. Think about it. Talk about self-care being a place to refocus your energy, right? We always think that the only time that we're really allowed to do self-care is when we are under high levels of stress. I will say that that is not true. We need to do that and make it a part of our daily routine, because at the times when things are good, think about it as a glass. Glass is full. Things are good. Yay. Self-care. Add on. Don't want it to overflow. Trust me, it will never overflow on it. Your glass is full. When stress hits, you're depleted. And stress comes in different sizes. We know that we can be stressed out every day, right? On things. What do you do for yourself on a regular basis so that doesn't empty out? When things are good, it's time to continue to fill that up and make it a part of your routine. I think that, they talk about diets are not, you don't just go on a diet, you make a lifestyle change. When I think of self-care is a lifestyle change when we do that as maintenance. And think about what you do. It does not have to be hours at a time. We don't have to go on vacation. I think vacations are stressful, man. Before and after, it's like, oh my God, stop. Think about what you need to do for yourself on a regular basis and make that a part of your life. If it's 15 minutes, if you pray, if you read a Bible, if you meditate, if you go for a run, those kinds of things are super important to actually continue to maintain a healthy balance in your life. Because when stress hits, you are much more able to kind of step back and refocus because you've already practiced this for so long. Am I right? One of the things, and I think you mentioned it, I love the fact that you had Zumba class. I wish I was looking for this when I was writing this up. I did a stress management class at one point in time, and there was something like, your body chemistry changes under stress. And so if you were at a resting state, and I get the numbers wrong, so please don't quote me on this, but it was something like for every 1 second your body gets stressed and the body chemistry changes, it takes 4 hours actually for your body chemistry to go back into normal state, which it never is, on that if things were just status quo on that. Imagine that. I get stressed for 1 second at a time. I don't think so on this. But it talks about how exercise is a huge factor on making that a rapid transition to make sure that your body is stressed. Because how much of our life is stressed out, and how many stress-related illnesses are there today? Heart disease, you think about this, lots of, stomach issues, those kinds of things, anxiety, depression, you name it, contributes to that. And a lot of it is chemically altered in your body on this. So stress takes a toll on you. I love what you said. You are the only unstoppable you. Nobody's going to take care of you like you. Putting this as part of your regimen in your life is so super important. It's something I will tell you when I'm under stress, I know 100% the first thing that comes out, that gets thrown out, is the things that are most important to me are my routines that help me balance myself. And until you put that as part of your life, it's very hard to maintain and hang on to. So I challenge you today, think about what you're going to do for your own self-care. And it goes a little further than that. Write it down. Because there's no way you're going to remember to do any of this stuff if you don't write it down. It's hard enough when you do write it down not to do it, but at least it's in your face and you know that you're not doing it. The other thing about self-care maintenance is, and I think a couple of folks have said this, what are your children and the people around you seeing? If you don't take care of yourself, what are you modeling for your children, number one? And what are you saying about yourself? What's the message? You're not important enough? If we took care of ourselves the way that we take care of other people, think about the people who are important in your life, your kids, your husband. When your husband says, oh, I've been working like a dog, blah, blah, we tell him to go, relax, sit down, I'll bring you dinner. Huh? What about us? Right? We don't do that. I think we need to make a real effort at that. And it is not a selfish thing to do that. It is important for you. The last thing I call self-care critical. And I say this because when I first started talking to Jennifer about self-care, what is it? Self-care is taking care of you, right? So the things that we hear all the time, but it's like, yeah, I know this kind of stuff, but we don't really pay attention to it. What is critical in our lives? Number one, exercise. Just talked about why it's critical. Stress is in our life every day. You need to change your own body chemistry, really, and to take care of yourself. I have a friend of mine who, I think she's like 91 years old. Love her. This is a woman who was a fitness instructor, phys ed teacher, I should say. 91 years old. She She is still active, mobile, doing what she's doing. She's amazing. She's amazing, and it's because she's kept herself physical. She's got great genes too, but unlike her husband, who unfortunately just passed away at the age of 95, was healthy as a horse, but he was not as mobile and was not able to get around because he was not as active as she was on this. Think about the end of your life. Like I said, what do you want to do? It takes time now. Now is the time for you to start looking at what you want to do out there. I'm not saying live in the future, but I'm saying you need to plan for your future, because when I'm 80 years old, I'm hoping that I'm still active, and I'm hoping that I still do things, and I hope that my stress level is down because I have exercised and taken care of myself that way. The other piece of self-care critical is eating right. Right? How many times we hear that? Eat right, eat right, eat, you know what, fruits, vegetables, not so much meat. I know the standards change all the time on things, but let me share with you, I was just on vacation. You guys are going to laugh when I tell you I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to a international typewriter convention. Yes, I did. My husband is an avid collector of typewriters. I didn't know what to expect when I went there, but I did have a blast. I have to say that. That's kind of weird, right? And I have lots of things that I am not allowed to eat, lots of issues about eating. But I thought I was a rock star on vacation, and I did all the things that I was not supposed to do. Because, well, heck, you're on vacation. Why not do it? I will tell you, when I came home, I had zero energy, my brain, my body, or anything, because I ate things that I knew I should not have done. Now, that's because, again, that's my issue. But the things that we put in our body have a direct effect on what we eat. I talk to people all the time. You know, when you're eating Twinkies and donuts and things like that that are not good for you, do you feel good? Probably not. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. You know, it's a quick fix, that kind of thing. It makes you feel good for a little while. My glass of wine, loved it. Like to sit down with the girls and have a glass of wine, but you know what? I paid for it later on in life. Think about the things that you put in your body. Think about what's healthy for you. And again, this is you taking care of you. And sometimes it's hard to make those decisions in life. But when I call it critical, it's like the gasoline that you put in your engine. Do you want to put in the good stuff, or do you want to put in the crappy stuff? Because how long are you going to last on this? And how does it make you feel? Last. Third thing on critical, get enough sleep. Right? How many people here get enough sleep? Couple people do. I do. I'm grumpy. I'm grumpy when I don't get my 7 hours of sleep. I have to do it. Sleeping is important. Sometimes we put that on the back burner and not make it important for us. Sleeping is the time that our body heals itself. That's right. We are much more alert. We are much more available to people when we do that. Sleep. The last thing I want to say is, for critical care, if there's a physical issue, something doesn't feel right, go to the doctor. Get your checkups. Do the things that you want to do. This was, I have to tell you, if our husbands or our children are complaining about something, are we telling them or taking them to the doctor? Are we? You bet. When we have physical ailments or problems, what do? We push them on the back burner. It's not really that important, right? If you are no good to yourself, what good are you to others? You know, my flight from Milwaukee, I paid attention to the stewardess who was doing all the safety stuff. What's the first thing that they say? If you lose cabin pressure, right, we've heard this before, put your own mask on before you put on everybody else's, right? Bet you any amount of money, a lot of you ladies in here wouldn't be paying attention to that kind of stuff, right? Make sure that all the kiddos had air masks on first before you put your own. Put your own on first. You are much better to serve them when they're squirming around than when you finally pass out. You got to figure it out. I mean, you need to take care of yourself. I mean, nobody's going to do it for you, are they? We are our own best answers is vital. It helps us face those barriers. All of these are important on a daily basis to be able to say to yourself that you care enough about yourself to be able to face those challenges and those barriers so that you are not unstoppable. Because there are things that are in our lives that are going to be super hard, and we're going to have to figure out how to get through them. And sometimes there are things that we just have to figure out how to do. And taking care of ourselves is the way to do it. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the people that are around you. Because when we are available to people, we leave a piece of us behind. Think about the inspiration that you share with others when you do those kinds of things. When I don't take care of myself, I don't want to know a deal about anybody else. When I stop and refocus, I can sit and listen to somebody, and I think somebody said it before. Sitting and listening sometimes is all that somebody might need from you. When you can't do that, you miss that opportunity again. Don't miss that opportunity. It's so important.